Alright, got the old crank out of there. That one's froze solid. Actually, they're both pretty stiff. I can pick that sucker up when he moves. New crank in. The back one goes to the first cylinder. The front one goes to the excuse me, bottom crank, back cylinder, top crank, front cylinder, at least from this view. We're going to go back and scrape all this gasket off, get all this real cleaned out, and we'll go back with Honda Bond. Looks like somebody's already been in there with it. We've got a new gasket set right there. We just got in the mail. So we're going to put this sucker back together, and little Tristan's going to have a hell of a little bike, brand new motor in it, so we ought to be happy. Alright, going from there. Oh, got that case out, let's clean the back side of it too. Alright, I put some Hondo Bond all around the edges of my case. I put my case back together. I used my impact screwdriver, went around and did all of them about twice is what I did. Took my ground wire back up, my bracket for my starter wire, and if you have never done this before, I actually printed all this off from bikebandit.com. And so if you're unfamiliar with what goes where, like that's your case, those just covers there, cylinders, the head if you weren't quite sure how to put it back together, oil filter, that would be your screen on the bottom of your motor. As a matter of fact, I need to take that apart and clean it. And this is probably what I need right here. And that would be starter clutch one way, and I think that's also a gear. But anyway, that should be it. We'll start putting her together. Okay, if you'll notice, there's a washer back behind there, then your gear with a bearing. Actually, this don't even show the flywheel on there. So here's my washer. And I need to clean that case out a little bit better. Got some debris in there. Make sure you scrape all the sides off real good too, and right before you go back to put that gasket on, use a little bit of Hondo Bond or Yamaha Bond. But anyway, this washer will go here. Then my gear, there's a one-way bearing in there. I'm going to go ahead and spray this all off. This looks like crap. And then the flywheel will go on after that. And this bearing right here is actually that one. It ain't showing the flywheel on there, so we'll put it back together. Anyway, here we go. Alright, so I got the crank in there, I got this case put back together, used Hondo Bond, or Permatech Gray all over this. I bought this bleepity bleep, bleep bleep crank from Bleepin' China, and this shaft here was actually too big. About 0.8 millimeters too wide to take this bearing and this gear. The cool thing was I was still able to slip my pin bearing over the top of it, so I knew that was good, which is going to push the roller bearings out, which obviously this didn't go over the bearings, but I knew I'd had enough space, so I took this starter gear over to my buddy's shop, and he honed out the inside and got it all nice where it'd run. And actually had it a little bit big where it just barely wobble, and by the time it cooled down it sat just in there perfectly. So I called the owner of this bike and told him what we were doing, because this was not the correct way to do this. We should have got a new crank, but it's going to be a few more weeks, and actually to get the OEM crank is hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So we went this route, and we'll deal with the guy in China, see if he can't help us out a little bit, since I'd pay a machine shop to fix this crap. I talked to machine shop, they said we'd had to tore the crank all the way apart to do that, and I know to put the crank back together it cost me more than the crank cost, so that really wasn't an option. So we did this, and this is hardened steel, so it ain't going anywhere, and actually most of the time this thing just sits still. It's just used during the starting. So we'll go from there. We're going to put her back together though. I cleaned all this out real good, and I'll go back with a razor blade and scrape all this off. I always put Permatex on all my stuff, and this is wet inside, so you want to make sure you got it good. Here's my clutch. We're going to order a clutch basket kit for them and get that going as well. And so here we go. Actually, the flywheel goes over this side, not the clutch. That right there. All right.